Welcome to lecture video number 1, part 1. Topics to be discussed in this lecture video are the following: types of business taxes, 12 types of percentage taxes, 3% percentage tax on sale of goods, properties, or services, and common carriers tax both on domestic and international carriers.
Hello, good day everyone. I welcome you all to our subject business taxation. Make sure that you are writing the important notes while the discussion is going on, and you should focus and listen carefully while you are attending to this lecture video. So what are we waiting for? Let us start the discussion. During the previous school year, we had already talked about income taxation. For this semester, we will talk about your business taxation, and specifically for this prelim, we will talk about your percentage taxes. But before we meet these business taxes and the different types of your percentage taxes, we shall first recall the importance of taxation in a country. Why is there an importance to tax? Why taxation is very important in the progress of a country? Is there really a need to tax? And does the government really need to tax its people? The answer is yes. Why? Because taxes are the lifeblood of the government. Without the taxes, the government will be paralyzed. Paralyzed in the sense that it cannot function. It cannot promote activities, create programs, and of course, for the improvement of the public. There will be no programs for social welfare, for healthcare, for education, and the like. Therefore, it can create total chaos to the system. Without this, the government cannot perform its duties and responsibilities. It cannot sustain its expenses for its people. Let us now enumerate the 3 types of business taxes under your tax law. First is your value-added tax, second is your percentage tax, and third is your excise tax. In the prelim, we will just tackle about your percentage taxes, and for the latter part of the semester, we will discuss about value-added tax and your excise tax. Before we meet our different types of percentage taxes, let us remind ourselves that income tax is different from your business tax. I will give an example for this one. For example, I am an employee in a big company wherein I am earning large amount of compensation income every month. Under the law, my employer has the responsibility to withhold my income tax and remit it to the BIR. Because I am earning compensation, I am required to file for my income tax, however, with the help of my employer. On the other side, if I am a businessman, of course, I am also earning income. And when I earn income, we had learned in income taxation that I am also subject to income tax. However, because I am doing business, on top of it, I am also paying my business tax. Therefore, business tax is independent from your income tax. Now, as you can see, I have written here VAT or value-added tax plus percentage tax is equal to cannot be. Cannot be and sad face. Why? Because value-added tax and percentage tax can never meet each other. That means, if you are filing and paying for value-added tax, it is understood that you are no longer required to file and pay for a percentage tax, which means that it is an either-way case. Either you pay for VAT or you pay for percentage tax. There is no way that you will be filing 2 business taxes in the name of VAT and percentage tax in a year. Now, how about your excise tax? You could be filing VAT and also paying for excise tax, and percentage tax, and also filing and paying for excise tax. So that is okay. The not only okay case here is your VAT plus percentage tax. How will you know if you are a VAT taxpayer or a percentage taxpayer? Of course, we have rules, requisites, and of course provision for that. That is why we are studying business taxation. And you should know the different types of percentage taxes and also those qualifiers for value-added tax. First, we will meet the 12 percentage taxes. Let us meet the 12 types of percentage taxes under the National Internal Revenue Code. The very first is the very famous 3% percentage tax on sale of goods, properties, or services. Second will be your common carriers tax on domestic carriers. And third is your common carriers tax on international carriers. Fourth is your franchise tax. Fifth is your overseas communication tax. Sixth is your tax on banks and non-bank financial intermediaries performing quasi-banking functions. Seventh is your tax on other non-bank financial intermediaries. Eighth is your tax on insurance companies. Ninth will be your tax on agents of foreign insurance companies. 10th is your amusement tax. 11th is your tax on winnings. And 12th is your stock transaction tax. We are just enumerating the 12, but of course, with the lecture videos that I will going to give you, we will vividly discuss each item or each percentage tax. Let us now meet the first type of your percentage tax, which is the 3% on sales of goods, services, or properties. On this type of your percentage tax, ito yung famous. Bakit? Kasi maraming nagnenegosyo na small time lang. Small time, pag sinabi nating small time, yung annual gross sales or gross receipts mo ay hindi exceed or hindi lampas sa 3 million pesos. Dahil, if lampas sa 3 million pesos yung gross sales mo or annual gross sales or gross receipts mo, automatically you will be subject to value-added tax. Which means you have no more option to choose percentage tax because above ka sa 3 million threshold. How about if you are below 3 million pesos, pero mas pinili mo yung VAT over percentage tax? Pwede ba yon? In that case, pwede yon. Pero pag exceed ka at automatically VAT ka, pwede mo bang piliin na maging percentage tax payer ka kasi mas mababa yon? Of course, no. Okay, let us see the requirements. Let us formally meet the requirements of those qualifiers for 3% percentage tax on sale of goods, properties, or services. First, annual gross sales or gross receipts is lesser than or equal to 3 million pesos. Again, the gross sales or gross receipts do not exceed 3 million pesos. Next is not a VAT registered. Bakit? Bakit may condition pa na ganito? It's because in number 1, sabi natin kanina, if 2 million pesos yung iyong annual gross sales, di ba, if the problem is silent, you're automatically taxed to 3% percentage tax. However, paano i-feel mo ya na i-tax ka using the 12% VAT? Pwede rin yun? So, pwede. Pwede nating i-opt na mag 12%. However, hindi ka na ma-qualify sa number 2. Which means, you are going to pay for VAT and you decline to pay for a lesser tax of 3% percentage tax. And the last one is your VAT exempt. VAT exempt yung industry mo, yung business industry na kinabebelungan ng iyong business, masasabi mo bang hindi na ako magbabayad ng business tax sapagkat VAT exempt ako? Of course, no. The government has basket for that. Our law has a basket for that. If you are a VAT exempt taxpayer, automatically you will become a percentage tax payer. And the last qualifier for this category of 3% percentage tax are those persons who are leasing residential units. Those persons po who are nagpapaupa ng mga residential units. However, we have also requisites in order to be qualified to the 3% percentage tax rather than the VAT or the value-added tax of 12%. First is that you should, the monthly rental per unit does not exceed 15,000 pesos. That means, kailangan hindi lagpas sa 15,000 pesos yung monthly rental per unit. Paano if lagpas sa 15,000 pesos per unit? Kailangan talaga 12% VAT yung babayaran ko? Hindi. Meron pang isang kondisyon. If lagpas ka sa 50,000 pesos yung monthly rental per unit, pero yung aggregate annual gross receipts mo ay hindi naman exceed or hindi lagpas sa 3 million pesos, pwede ka pa rin mag-opt for the 3% percentage tax. E paano if 3,500,000 yung annual gross receipts ko from pagpapaupa ng residential units, hindi na po pwede. Automatically, you are subject to value added tax. In your handouts, we have an example there. Johnson owns a restaurant which has annual gross receipts ranging from 400,000 to 450,000 pesos. In January, the gross receipts amounted to 27,500 pesos, while purchases of goods subject to value-added tax is 6,000 pesos and not subject to value-added tax of 13,000 pesos. How much is the percentage tax of Johnson for the month? That is the problem. What I have written on the board, ano yung sinulat ko sa board, is yung amount ng kanyang gross receipt for the previous year. So, for the previous year, meron siyang nag-range yung kanyang annual gross receipts of 400,000 to 450,000 pesos. So, pwede siyang ma-qualify for 3% percentage tax? Yes, because malayo pa po siya sa 3 million pesos or hindi nga siya lagpas sa ating 3 million pesos threshold. Second is that, bakit ko sinulat yung 27,500 gross receipts? Yung tax base ng ating 3% percentage tax on sale of goods, properties, or services, yung tax base or yung tinataksan natin ng 3% ay ang gross receipts. Pag sinabi natin gross, hindi na natin kailangan yung expenses, yung cost. Gross, nasa itaas, and walang deduction. So, we have 27,500. Ano pa yung data na kailangan natin? Meron pa ba? There is no more needed data. Why? Eto na. Sapat na yung gross receipt na 27,500 pesos at alam natin na pasok siya for percentage tax. The problem is silent rather. Hindi naman sinabing nag-opt siya for VAT. That means subject siya for 3% percentage tax. 27,500 times 0.03, you get an amount of 825 pesos. So this is your percentage tax of 3%. Let's proceed to your common carrier's tax. Common carrier's tax for number 2 and number 3 classifications of your percentage taxes. Because in number 2, common carrier's tax on domestic carrier, and for number 3, common carrier's tax for international carrier. Okay, so we have a table over here and we will fill in everything so that you will be able to know which among the common carriers here are paying for percentage taxes and paying for VAT. Let's see. We have here common carriers from land, common carriers in land, common carrier by sea, or air. Okay, so here we have domestic and international. P stands for passenger and C for cargoes or goods. So, cargoes or goods. Hindi naman lahat ng carrier, puro pasahero lang yung tinatransport. May mga carrier din na tinatransport nila cargoes or goods. Tingnan natin. If you are a common carrier here on land, mga jeepney, taxi, bus, so you are subject to 3% percentage tax. 3% percentage tax of the gross receipts. Pero paano if truck nagtatransport ng cargo? Ano yung applicable na tax sa kanya? Hindi po 3% percentage tax, pero 12% VAT or value added tax. Next, punta tayo sa common carrier sa himpapawid at sa karagatan. Airplane, ship, so air or sea. Inisa na lang natin yung category ito kasi same rules and principles rin naman yung sinusunod natin. So, meron pa rin tayo itong category, Philippines to Philippines and Philippines to abroad. Merong mga eroplano na ang biyahe ay sa isang lugar lang sa Pilipinas, going sa isang area or lugar rin sa Pilipinas. For example, here from Iloilo to Manila. Or meron namang Philippines to abroad. For example, from the Philippines going to the United States of America. So, pwedeng Philippines to Philippines at saka Philippines to abroad. Kinategorize natin sa dalawa because different po yung tax rates na gagamitin natin. For common carriers na nagtatransport ng pasahero pero by air, for example, your airplane, from one place here in the Philippines going to another place in the Philippines, subject po sila sa 12% VAT. How about yung cargo? Paano if yung plane na yan or yung ship na yan, yung tinatransport ay napakaraming goods, napakaraming cargos, walang pasahero? Ano po yung tax na applicable? Same din, 12% VAT. Philippines to abroad. From the Philippines going to USA. For example, ano yung tax rate na ginagamit natin? Is it 12% VAT rin ba? No, meron tayong isang type of VAT na 0%. So we have 0% VAT. At i-discuss natin yan on the VAT lecture and not here. Next is your cargo. It's also subject to your 0% VAT. Looking into the side of this table, as you can see, the only common carrier that is subject to your 3% percentage tax is the common carrier by land who are transporting passengers. Pampasaherong sasakyan lang po ang tinatax ng percentage tax. The rest, nasa VAT category. Let's proceed to our international carriers. International air carriers at international shipping carriers. Inisa na lang po siya natin dito because same principle rin. This is imposed on your international carriers which are doing business in the Philippines, transporting cargos from one place here in the Philippines going to another or outside the Philippines, another place outside the Philippines. So that is your category for your 3% common carriers tax for international carrier. First is that doing business in the Philippines, transporting cargos, and the last is that from the Philippines going to a place outside the Philippines. How much is the tax? Is it subject to 0% VAT, 12% VAT, or your 3% percentage tax? The answer is, it is subject to your 3% percentage tax. 3% percentage tax, pareho na sila. So, dalawa na for your common carriers tax of 3%. Take note, the tax base for this, the tax base is the gross receipts. We will solve for an example in your handouts. Johnny operates 2 pedicabs, 2 passenger jeepneys flying the route Trinidad to Baguio in Baguio City, and 3 cargo trucks. The receipts for the months are the following. So, there are data in your handouts. Please refer to the data. How much is the percentage tax due? The question is, magkano yung percentage tax na dapat bayaran ni Johnny? Take note, kailangan natin i-identify if ang mga common carriers na ilista dyan ay pasok sa ating 3% percentage tax sapagkat ang hinahanap ay percentage tax due. Okay, so on the board, I have already written my solution, so kindly follow. We have here jeepney, pedicab, and truck. For jeepney, ano ang tinatransport? Passenger. We have passenger jeepneys here. So pag pasahero yung tinatransport by land and domestic carrier, we have to pay for a 3% percentage tax on gross receipts. Kaya inilista ko dito yung amount na 22,000 at saka 23,300 pesos sapagkat gagamitin natin sila sa pag-solve ng ating percentage tax due. Next, pedicab. So, pedicab, masyadong maliit lang na maliit lang yung ini-income, kumbaga, natatanggap ng mga pedicab driver, for example, or operation from pedicab. So, sabi ni law, hindi natin yan tataksan. Exempt yan. Wala yung tax under business tax. Next would be truck. Ano yung tinatransport ng truck? Cargos. So, ang cargos ay subject sa 12% VAT. Okay? So that means the only amount that we need here are the amount na galing sa ating pangpasaherong jeepney. We have 22,000 pesos at saka 23,300 pesos. Solve them, add them, you get 45,300 pesos. How much is the percentage tax rate? 3%. So 45,300 times 0.03, how much is your percentage tax due or your common carrier's tax? We have 1,359 pesos. So kindly solve using your calculator in order for you to confirm if my answer here is correct.
Congratulations for watching this video until the end. You still have lecture video number 1 part 2, so make sure that you watch it. Thank you so much and stay safe.